zu sagen, dass wir nicht länger akzeptieren, dass er zivile Infrastruktur, Krankenhäuser, Kindergärten, alle zivile Infrastruktur dieses Landes wahllos bombardiert. Und wenn er das fortsetzt, in großer Übereinstimmung in Europa entschieden wird, dass die Reichweitenbegrenzung für die Waffen, die die Ukraine hat, jetzt aufgehoben wird. Herr Bundeskanzler, Sie sind auch persönlich mit dafür verantwortlich. Sie sind auch persönlich mit Ihrer Haltung dafür verantwortlich, dass die Ukraine gegen Putin mit einer Hand auf dem Rücken kämpfen muss. Das geht so nicht weiter. Und wenn Putin das nicht akzeptiert, dann muss der nächste Schritt erfolgen und ihm gesagt werden, wenn er nicht innerhalb von 24 Stunden aufhört, die Zivilbevölkerung in der Ukraine zu bombardieren, dann müssen aus der Bundesrepublik Deutschland auch Taurus-Marschflugkörper geliefert werden, um die Nachschubwege zu zerstören, die dieses Regime nutzt, um die Zivilbevölkerung in der Ukraine zu beschädigen und zu bombardieren.
This is my video update on this Thursday afternoon, October the 17th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Merz, Friedrich Merz, who was speaking in the German parliament the other day. And he has issued a 24-hour ultimatum to Russia. Either Russia stops their hostilities in Ukraine, or else the German parliament should green light Taurus long-range missiles to Zelensky. That was his ultimatum to Russia. Now, Merz is the leader of the CDU-CSU, and I believe it's correct to say that he is the main opposition to Scholz, at least for the position of chancellor. In about a year's time, it looks like Merz is in the best position to become Chancellor of Germany in 1 year. I could be wrong about that, and many things can change in a year. But Merz is the successor to Angela Merkel, actually. So he got up in front of Parliament and he issued a 24-hour ultimatum to Russia. Let me read you what Merz said. I call on you to give, he's speaking to Parliament, I call on you to give Russia a 24-hour ultimatum to stop hostilities. If the request is not met, the weapon range limit for Ukraine will be lifted and the Taurus missiles will be transferred. So I talked about this in a video update from 2 days ago when Merz gave an interview to German media, and he was talking about giving Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And that was his first warning to Russia. He said if Russia doesn't stop its special military operation, then Germany should give Ukraine the Taurus long-range missiles. And now he's getting up in front of Parliament, and he's telling Parliament that they should issue this warning, this ultimatum to Russia. You've got 24 hours to capitulate. That's basically what he's saying. The German Parliament should warn Russia, you have 24 hours to capitulate, or else we are going to give Zelensky the ultimate wonder weapon, the Taurus long-range missiles. The king of wonder weapons, the wonder weapon that will deliver victory for Zelensky, the Taurus long-range missiles. That's the ultimatum from Merz. That is what he's telling German Parliament to tell Russia. And you know, my sources in Russia, very close to Putin, my sources, they are telling me that if there's one person that Putin takes absolutely seriously, and one person that he fears most in the world, we're talking he is very, very afraid of this person. It's Merz. That's what my sources are telling me. They're telling me that when Merz gave this speech, and Putin heard this speech from Merz, that he was very worried, very afraid. He was walking back and forth in his room, up all night. He was up all night, pacing back and forth, very worried, saying, "Oh my God, what do I do now? Merz, I am terrified of Merz." that is what was going on yesterday. Putin is petrified of Merz. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen. I have a hunch. I have a feeling that that Putin's going to capitulate to Merz. That's my hunch, man. Something is telling me that Putin's going to call up Merz. Maybe by the time this video goes up, Putin will have called Merz and will have told him, all right. You win, Merz. You win. Yeah. All right. Let's get serious now. We know that the Taurus long-range missiles, we know that Germany has to operate these missiles. We know this from the audio leak. Remember that audio leak from about a year ago where the German officers were speaking on the phone or something like that. And they were talking about Taurus long-range missiles being fired at Crimea. At the time, they were talking about launching Taurus long-range missiles towards Crimea. And the officers were talking about how Germany would have to actually fire those missiles. I believe in the audio leak, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I believe the officers during that conversation, the German military officers, that they actually revealed that that German military would have to be on the ground in Ukraine actually firing those missiles because Ukraine would never be able to do it. So it would take German military on the ground in Ukraine to actually fire the missiles towards Crimea. And that audio was leaked about a year ago. And when that audio was leaked, Olaf Scholz, he took a very hard line with the Taurus missiles, saying no. I mean, it was a hard no from Olaf Scholz ever since that audio leak. And basically what Olaf Scholz, his argument was look, the audio was leaked. The German officers, they revealed that that Taurus missiles would have to be launched by Germany, by German officers, German targeting, and that would effectively mean that Germany would be firing long-range missiles at Russia. And at the time, they were talking about Crimea, but now they're talking about Taurus missiles into pre-2014 Russia. But Scholz has been firm. He said no back then after the audio was leaked, and he's continued to say no with Taurus missiles to Zelensky. And that audio leak was the cover that that Scholz needed, right? So, I mean, I have a suspicion, and it's just a hunch. I have no evidence. I don't have anything to prove this. Just a hunch that that maybe the audio was leaked by people in and around Scholz, right? Because Scholz was never hot on the idea of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. I believe Scholz knew that if he were to give Taurus missiles to Ukraine, then Russia would come out and say, look, we know that German officers are needed to fire those Taurus missiles. So you're at war with Russia when you're firing those Taurus missiles. And Scholz knows that. He knew that and he knows that. And so when the audio was leaked to the public, revealing that Germany would have to fire those missiles, for Scholz, it was his way out. He could then tell the German people, look, the audio was leaked. You guys heard the German officers. You heard it from them. German military would have to fire those missiles towards Russia. That would mean we're at war with Russia. So obviously we can't give the Taurus missiles to Zelensky. So I don't know. Maybe, just maybe. It's just a hunch. Maybe Schultz had something to do with that audio leak. I don't know. But he's remained firm. No Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And Merz knows this. You know, Merz, he's playing his game. He is playing his political game. He knows that Schultz can't give Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And if Schultz did give Taurus missiles to Ukraine, then Germany would be at war with Russia. Merz knows this, and he knows that Germany can't go to war with Russia. He knows this. But he's playing his politics, right? And he wants to be chancellor in a year. And he knows that if he's going to be chancellor, if the U.S. is going to approve of him being chancellor, in a year, he knows he has to take a very hard line against Russia. And so he can come out and say we should give Taurus missiles to Ukraine, knowing that Schultz can't greenlight Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And we got to give ultimatums to Putin, knowing that this is ridiculous. But in the eyes of NATO, in the eyes of the neocons, this makes Merz acceptable as the next chancellor of Germany, because he's going to need U.S. and NATO support if he wants to become chancellor in the next election. So he knows this is a step too far for Germany, but he can play it tough. He can play it tough. And that's what he's doing. 24-hour ultimatum. Come on, man. Come on, man. you kidding, Merz? Who are you freaking kidding? Anyway, Schultz. Let's talk about the pirate. The pirate said that he is ready to talk to Putin. So Merz is talking about 24-hour ultimatums to Parliament. To give Russia. He's telling the German parliament that they need to give Russia a 24-hour ultimatum. And Schultz, he is telling the German people that at Parliament, he's telling the German people in Parliament that he's ready to talk to Putin. That's right. He is ready to talk. He was speaking to Parliament, and he did say that there should be a second peace summit. Second peace summit. Second peace summit, matey. That's what the pirate said. Peace summit. Yeah, he said there should be a second peace summit, and Russia should be invited. That is what he said. Therefore, this is what Schultz said. Therefore, it is also true that when we are asked whether we will also talk to the Russian president, we answer yes, we will. Yes, we will. We will talk to the Russian president, to Putin, but within the framework of a second peace summit, of which Russia has said they have no interest in any peace summits. Right? The first peace summit was a disaster, man, a freaking disaster. No one wants to host a second peace summit. Maybe Berlin should host the second peace summit. I don't know. Maybe Schultz should host it. Maybe he should have it at his home. I don't know. But yeah, Russia has no interest in a peace summit. No one has any interest in a peace summit except Zelensky. And Schultz, he's talking about Russia participating in a second peace summit. And if Russia shows up, then Schultz will talk to Russia. That is what Schultz is saying. Schultz knows that it's game over. He understands that it's game over, and he's trying to find a way out of this mess. He is trying to find a way out of the mess that he's put Germany in. Deindustrialized Germany for what? For what? Nord Stream blown up for what? For Zelensky. For Zelensky and Yermak and Podolyak and Nuland and Blinken and the neocons. The hopes of a regime change in Russia and the balkanization of Russia. That's what they were all hoping for. And instead, what Schultz has gotten is the deindustrialization of Germany. An economic recession for Germany and the blowing up of Nord Stream. Anyway, the victory plan that Zelensky announced yesterday, that he revealed yesterday, the victory plan. Well, the victory plan has gone bust. Kaboom! There is no victory plan. It's already been rejected by just about everyone, or at least everyone that matters. Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House spokesperson, she was asked about Zelensky's victory plan, which talks about green lighting missile strikes into Russia. That's part of Zelensky's victory plan. And Karine Jean-Pierre, it's a big part of Zelensky's victory plan, actually. Karine Jean-Pierre, she said that there are going to be no long-range missile strikes into Russia, at least not the kind that Zelensky wants. She said U.S. policy on long-range missile strikes has not changed and will not change. Has not changed and will not change. That is what Karine Jean-Pierre said. And the US-NATO representative was asked about the victory plan and the big part of the victory plan, which says that Ukraine must enter NATO now. That is the big part of the victory plan, the most important part of the victory plan. Ukraine must enter NATO now. And what did the U.S. representative to NATO say? Not going to happen. That is what she said. Ukraine is not getting into NATO. She said, at least not in the short term. And short term means now, right? Short term is pretty much equal to now. And yeah, that's the U.S.'s response to Ukraine entering NATO. In the short term, not going to happen. In the long term, she did say that Ukraine's path to NATO is inevitable or something like that. But that's just long term, right? That's far, far, far away. Far, far, far away in a galaxy far, far away. Ukraine will eventually enter NATO, but now in the short term, not going to happen. So that's what the U.S. rep at NATO said. Fico, Robert Fico for Slovakia, he said that it's not going to happen. Ukraine entering NATO is not going to happen because he said that would basically mean World War III. And Fico called the victory plan senseless. The senseless victory plan that he said Slovakia does not and will never support. So that's what Fico said. And even Mark Rutte, no, not Mark Rutte. Zelensky saying, not you, Mark Rutte, not you. I named a street after you in Kiev. But Mark Rutte, he even said that the victory plan, yes, not such a good idea. That is what the new NATO boss said. He said the alliance has taken note of Zelensky's victory plan, but is not ready to talk about full support now. Not ready to talk about it now. That's what Rutte said. Oh, man. And then Rutte also said, commenting on Zelensky's claim that the North Korean military is operating in Ukraine, and it's really North Korea that is fighting this war with Ukraine and with the collective West. Russia is North Korea's proxy, according to Zelensky. Anyway, Rutte was asked about the whole North Korea claim that Zelensky is making, and Rutte said that NATO is unable to confirm North Korean military operating in Ukraine. It's unable to confirm this. And when these guys say it's unable to confirm this, that's basically them saying that it's BS. It is BS. Rutte, man. I think Mark Rutte is going to lose his street in Kiev. Yeah. How much money do you want to bet that Zelensky, he named the street after Mark Rutte in Kiev in order to sweeten up Mark Rutte so that he can support Ukraine, Zelensky's victory plan. How much money do you want to bet that that Zelensky, he said, let's name a street after Mark Rutte, and then when I announce my victory plan, Rutte will speak out in support of my victory plan and in support of Ukraine entering NATO now. I'll put money on it that was what Zelensky was thinking. Oh, man. He's going to lose that street, everybody. He is going to lose that freaking street, man. You had a street for about a week, not even. He had a street named after you for 3 days, and now Zelensky's going to to name it something else. Anyway, even the New York Times put out an article and said that there's no evidence that North Korea is fighting in Ukraine. Even the New York Times had to admit as much. Maria Zakharova, she commented on Zelensky's victory plan, and she called it a bunch of incoherent slogans. That's a direct quote, incoherent slogans. She also said that it's nothing but a plan, and I'm quoting here, nothing but a plan for the misfortune of Ukraine. She also said that this is why they, the collective West, brought this clown to power, to finish off Ukraine as a state. Quite a statement from Zakharova. So Biden called up Zelensky yesterday. We are getting reports that Biden called up Zelensky, and he has announced $425 million in military aid to Zelensky, to Ukraine. That is what the Biden White House announced yesterday. $425 million, and we know what they want to give to Ukraine, what kind of military aid they want to give to Ukraine, and I'm no expert, but I'm no military expert, but it's a lot of stuff that the military-industrial complex is going to have to produce that they don't have ready. So basically, a good chunk of this money is going to go to the MIC in contracts, and what they are going to give to Ukraine is air defense stuff, artillery shells, stingers, stuff like that. I looked at the list of what they're going to give to Ukraine, and it does look like it's going to be things that will keep Zelensky afloat, will keep Ukraine fighting a little bit longer, a couple of months longer. Just enough time. My suspicion is that this weapons package is going to keep Ukraine fighting for just enough time so that come February, March, Sullivan, Blinken, Biden, they're long gone and they've forgotten all about Project Ukraine. That's basically what this package looks like. And of course, the contracts to the MIC. The MIC always wins. It always freaking wins. But it does look like the Biden White House, whatever they're going to give to Ukraine is all about getting Ukraine to November and then to the inauguration in January. And from that point on, all these guys they'll be at some think tank or some WEF organization or something like that. And they're going to forget all about Project Ukraine. It will be left to the next administration to deal with. But the Biden White House, they did force, I believe they forced Australia into giving up some tanks that were in storage, from what I understand, and these tanks were retired, Abrams tanks, but it looks like Biden made a call to Australia, and Biden said, "Look, We got to keep Ukraine afloat for a little bit longer, a couple of more months. So, those retired tanks that you guys have, hand them over to Zelensky. And that's what Australia did. 49 of 59 M1A1 Abrams tanks from storage in Australia will be going to Ukraine. The older M1A1 models are supposed to be replaced by 120 of the newer M1A2 under a contract Australia finalized with the US in January 2022. The military-industrial complex always wins. They always win. Always. So get rid of these retired tanks. Just get rid of them. Give them to Ukraine. And we've got some new tanks with this contract, which we'll get to you in the future, Australia. And that is what Australia did. So 49 of 59 tanks that the Russian military will now have to destroy. So that's the news coming out of Australia. And yesterday we got the Fox News interview with Kamala Harris. Wow, what an interview. This is probably the big story of the day, huh? Fox News and Kamala. What an interview that was. Man. Oh boy. So the Daily Mail, they are saying that this interview was a train wreck. That is what they are calling it, a total train wreck. Social media explodes after Kamala Harris' total train wreck interview as supporters blast Fox News. Brett Baier for ambush. Zero Hedge. Their title, covering the interview, says disaster. Kamala.exe crashes in Fox interview meltdown. And JD Vance, he posted on Twitter X, to my Democratic friends, maybe you should consider swapping Kamala Harris for Joe Biden. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I don't really think I can add any commentary to that interview. It was a bad idea. From what I understand, Kamala and her team, they came to the interview. This is what Brett Baier said from Fox News. They came to the interview 15 minutes late, and they cut the interview. They demanded a hard stop, something like 5 or 10 minutes at the 28-minute mark or something like that. And Brett Baier had like another 5 minutes or something like that to go, but they demanded a hard stop. So they came late, and they left early. That's how bad the interview was. It was bad. I mean, oh boy. One thing came out from this interview, at least in my opinion. Kamala has definitely rehearsed certain talking points very well. She's been given some talking points, a script, and she has memorized that script. And she can't go off that script. She has trouble going off of what she's been told to memorize, and those talking points that she does know them well, and she constantly repeats them. And when Brett Baier was trying to ask her questions that she will never get from any other media outlet, which are off of the talking points that she has memorized, she loses it. She gets frustrated. She gets angry, and it showed. And it showed during that interview. So the Democrats, what they're doing now is they're basically saying that this was a great performance by Kamala. She went on Fox News. She introduced herself to Fox News's audience, and she didn't shy away from Brett Baier. She went toe-to-toe with Brett Baier, and they're saying that this was a big win for Kamala Harris. I didn't see it like that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this was a big win for Kamala Harris. But I saw it as a huge L, a big L, because she lost her composure. She lost her cool. She was pressed just a little bit by Brett Baier, and Brett Baier, he was very polite. He was very polite with her. He was calling her Madam Vice President, and he was saying, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I want to ask you this and I want to ask you that. He never raised his voice. He was very, very polite. But he was asking questions that were off script for Kamala Harris. She's memorized certain talking points. I mean, she's memorized them super good. But if you just stray away just a little bit from what she's memorized, she loses it.
Frankly, exhausted of Brett.
More than
People
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam Vice President.
You and I both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
but
people
you're the
have
lever
become.
Of power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me.
So let's do some clown worlds and wrap this video up. And we have Javier Milei, the Argentine president, hosting Boris Johnson. Hosting Boris Johnson as part of a promotional campaign for Johnson's book. It was reported in Argentina that Milei had asked Johnson to help him meet a singer he admired, Rolling Stones singer Mick Jagger. All right. So Boris Johnson is promoting his book. He's hanging out with Milei, and Milei is hosting Boris Johnson because he wants Boris Johnson to help him meet Mick Jagger. All right. And Bloomberg, they put out an article the other day with the title, Why Europe is Unprepared to Defend Itself. Europe's Potemkin armies not ready to defend against Russia. For decades, European NATO members curbed defense spending to fund other priorities. What remains, in the view of some U.S. military experts, is a Potemkin army that couldn't stand up to an invader without American support. The Potemkin armies of Europe. They cannot stand up to Russian shovels and washing machine chips. Without the U.S., European armies are helpless, according to Bloomberg. So Europe better start spending money on weapons, right? They better start spending a lot of money on weapons. Absolutely. That's what they need to do. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, like the t-shirt I'm wearing today in this video. The link is in the description box down below to the Duran shop. Take care.